Hello and welcome to the Street Crime UK YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Today we look at the kidnap gang who blackmailed £30,000 from a torture victim's mother after threatening to cut off her son's finger, were jailed for a total of 63 years. The victim was snatched from his flat on Green Lanes, Enfield, before being taken to 27-year-old Courtney Bishop's stronghold. The man was burnt, beaten and even had a steel pole inserted into his rectum, while kidnappers demanded thousands of pounds from his family, the Old Bailey heard. The victim was only released once his mother paid them £30,000 at a meeting in Norwood Country Park in South London. He was taken to Chalk Farm Hospital where he was kept for 4 days because of the seriousness of his injuries. Courtney Bishop, Nigel Bishop, 27, Keith Walker, 35 and Christopher White, 29 were found guilty of conspiracy to kidnap. They also each found guilty of conspiracy to burgle, conspiracy to commit false imprisonment, wounding with intent and conspiracy to blackmail. Judge Christopher Moss QC said, "It can't be said for certain how the victim was selected, but it had all the hallmarks of being gang and drug related. You are all, in my judgment, members of the gang culture that blights the streets of London and other cities in this country." Just 2 days earlier, another man was subjected to a similar ordeal when he was dragged from a cab by two men on a motorbike and bundled into the back of a car. He was taken to a high-rise flat, stripped, and his attackers took £800 from his wallet as well as his watch and his earring. He was then tied up with belts and wires, a pillowcase was put on his head and a sock stuffed into his mouth until he retched. The men, who on this occasion included Courtney Bishop, Mr. White and Alan Smith, 27, hit him and used a steam iron to burn the soles of his feet before pouring boiling water onto his feet. Courtney Bishop, Mr. Smith and Mr. White were found guilty of conspiracy to kidnap, conspiracy to commit false imprisonment and wounding with intent over the incident. Courtney Bishop and Mr. White were also convicted of conspiracy to blackmail and conspiracy to burgle. Both of the victims refused to come to court to give evidence against their attackers, sentencing Courtney Bishop to 24 years, Alan Smith to 11 years and Keith Walker and Nigel Bishop to 14 years each. Judge Moss said, "You inflicted the most heinous forms of torture on these victims." Christopher Johnson for Courtney Bishop told the court his client hasn't seen the light of day since 2009 except for that brief spell in 2013. Courtney Bishop is currently serving a sentence for a previous drug trafficking offence. He's in danger of becoming institutionalised, Mr. Johnston warned. Ronnie Manick for Nigel Bishop said, "He was the designated driver. He's not a professional offender, but I admit he did give a major supporting role. He has 3 children, aged 9, 5 and 4, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel when he can come out of prison and be a father away from the London criminality," he said. George Payne for Keith Walker said, "It's been 15 years since his last conviction. He suffers from an addiction to crack cocaine, but he has work as a personal trainer." Andrew Mooney for Alan Smith said, "He wasn't a part of the planning, he was only a part of the execution. His role was one of transport. He has 2 children, aged 2 and 3. As part of his difficulty in his addiction to cannabis, he has 8 convictions for cannabis," he said. During the trial, the court heard the victim was made to make phone calls to his friends to get money before being released near Chalk Farm tube station. He had suffered a broken eye socket, bruising and was covered in burns, while the kidnappers had used keys to burgle his flat. 2 kidnappings, one a few days after the other, the prosecution contend committed by the same core gang, using the same location to hold the victims, said prosecutor Timothy Hunter. Police were able to identify the flat used to hold both victims after the first victim described a circular window with a view of Wembley Stadium. The man was kidnapped, falsely imprisoned, and attempts were made to blackmail persons with him to extort money. A couple days later, the same happened to another man. On this occasion, £30,000 was extorted from his family to secure his release. Mr. Hunter added, "No one disputes the fact that there were kidnappings and associated offences. The sole issue in this case is the involvement or otherwise of the defendant." The Bishops of Dunelm Grove, West Norwood and Mr. Smith of No Fixed Address denied conspiracy to kidnap, false imprisonment, wounding with intent, attempted blackmail and burglary in relation to the first victim. The Bishops, Mr. Walker of Linden Grove, Peckham Rye and Mr. White of Linden Grove, Nunhead, denied conspiracy to kidnap, burglary, false imprisonment, wounding with intent, and blackmail in relation to the second victim. The gang did not react as their sentences were read out, but Nigel Bishop called out, "Thanks for all your support, I love you all," to his family in the public gallery. So what are your thoughts about this kidnap gang who went to extreme measures to kidnap and torture innocent victims, and in one attempt blackmailed a mother of one of the victims for £30,000? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, stay safe.